speaker for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, well, it's a pleasure to introduce our speaker indeed. You've probably seen this up on the board here. I don't know what they're giggling about, not when she's finished with them, but Tracey's come along today. I'd have a little history on it because she has spoken to a number of organisations around locally indeed. And on one occasion my wife came back from the Methodist Lady Group telling me all about this young lady who come to talk about pigs, and we ended up with a pile of sausages like this, as you will. And you know, she was fascinated, and I know quite a bit about her from that, so I won't take all the time away. But Tracey operates a pig farm, I suppose it's fair to call that. Breeds her own pigs, turns them into meats and sausages up at Harold Hill, her establishment up there, and she's going to regale us with the details of that. A little bit of a past, I understand, so the floor is yours, Tracey.
Thank you. I hope you don't mind. Can I turn this round and lean against here, if that's possible?
Yeah.
Otherwise it seems like I'm on stage, you know. I'm not used to being on stage. Can everyone see me and hear me, yeah?
Yeah.
Right, my name's Tracey Mackness and I own the Giggly Pig Company. Now, have any of you had the privilege of eating my sausages before? Yes. Have any of you seen me before? You heard my story before? Oh, I'm glad about that then. At least I won't bore you all. As I say, right, I didn't have your usual route into farming. I didn't go to agricultural college, or I didn't get brought up in a family that was passed on from generations. My journey really started to all go wrong for me when I was a very very young age, I suppose, with my family. We was brought up in the fruit and veg business. My dad had stalls on Romford Market, and he had shops and things in Collier Row and surrounding areas. But from a very young age, my dad used to get himself in little bits of trouble. And he'd find himself in prison every now and again. He'd come out again, and he would be there, and then he wasn't there, and he'd be back again, and he wasn't. So for a few years, me and my brother sort of got used to it, you know, like Daddy being not there and then being there. But it sort of must have had an effect on us, because when I was about 15, he went away again for probably the last time that I can remember, and he's never been away since then, to be honest. But he left us. We had like a few shops, and we had a farm with horses and all that, and it was left down to my mum and myself, and I've got a brother who's just a couple of years younger than me, to actually just get on with it, you know. So we had to just deal with the situation. But from then onwards, my dad came out of prison, and because I never went to school very much from the age of about 13 or 14, because I worked in the family business, and I thought, well, I don't really need to do exams or qualifications, because as far as I'm concerned, I'm set up anyway. I'm going to work in the family business. But when my dad came out of prison, my mum divorced him on unreasonable behaviour. I can't understand it. So obviously, my brother and I, we was very upset. We couldn't understand why he's going, you know. But she was adamant, he's going. I've had enough, and that's it. So he came home from prison, obviously, and he wasn't happy about being divorced while he was in prison. So he said, I'm not leaving, I'm not going, I'm staying in the family home. So he did for about another 18 months. The situation wasn't very good, you know, there was loads of arguments. But all of a sudden, he met, because he was a very bad gambler. He used to go to the casinos at night, and he was always in the betting office. As well as going to market at 3 o'clock in the morning and buying all his produce. Once he'd finished, he'd head straight for the betting office during the day and the casino at night, you know. And that's why he used to get in trouble and go to prison, because it had to fund his little habits and his hobbies. So obviously now he sells the business. My brother and I have got no job, no qualifications, no really prospect, you know. Don't really know what we're going to do. So my brother went off to become an apprentice for a big company, a groundwork company, and he's got his own business now. So he's done quite well. But for me, it was a bit more different to that, because I have always been left to my own devices from a very young age. I'm not the sort of person that could go and work in Tesco's and be told what to do, you know. I like to be more of a leader, not a follower. So with me, I just couldn't go and get any sort of job. So I discovered, I don't know, I'll get myself a boyfriend that's got plenty of money. So that's what I did, quite often. But it did get me in lots of trouble, because I always picked the bad boys. I was told by my mum, don't go out with him, he's no good for you. But the more she said don't do it, I did it anyway. Because obviously these women understand, we were like a bad boy. But it was to get me in quite a lot of trouble over the years. And so I really didn't have any sort of game plan in mind for quite a long time. You know, I just flitted about, done a few odd jobs, a bit of cleaning work, anything really just to get by. And then when I was 19, I met my first serious boyfriend, But he was a gypsy, and he lived on the gypsy site at Rush Green. He was a lot older than me. He was 20 years older than me. Again, something they said don't get involved, but I did it anyway. So I ended up living on there for about 2 or 3 years. Didn't have much of a life on there really, because all I'd done was cook and clean. And every opportunity I got, I used to run away. But then after 3 months, you sort of forget about how bad it is, and you go back. So I wasted for 2 or 3 years of my life, you know, really, with this man, although I did think a lot of him. And then I thought I knew it all, but you don't really, do you, at a young age? And then I was getting married when I was 24 for the first time. I know, so first time, I've only been married a couple. But this one really wasn't to last very long. He was, again, someone a lot older than me, because I think I've always been looking for the fatherly figure, you know, someone to look after me, because my dad was never there. But unfortunately for me, I'd managed to get myself, well, fortunately for me, I managed to, for once in my life, get myself in a little job that I actually liked. By accident, I'd managed to get a job working for a Ford dealership up in Seven Kings called Eagle Ford. And what I was doing was delivering new cars. It was only, I was told at the beginning, don't get too happy in the situation, because it's only for a month while we deliver the cars. And then when the mad rush is over, we won't need you any longer. So I said, no problem. But whilst I was there, the receptionist actually got taken ill for a week, and they chucked me in her position. Now, with that, I quite enjoyed it, you know, and they was quite taken with the way I was. So they sent me on every Ford training course there was within the next 18 months. And I found myself a little career for a Ford franchise. So obviously I was quite happy there, plodding along. I'd managed to buy myself my flat, my very first home, you know, in Marlborough Road in Romford. So really I had everything going for me, and I was to meet my first husband, this Tommy. Well, I was led to believe, he told me that he had his own job, own business, and he was going out to work. But he wasn't really, he was going out and getting up to mischief during the day. And he was back home again within an hour. And when I got home from work, he was laying on the seat. You know, hadn't done anything, no housework, no dinner or anything. So I suffered it for quite a while, and then I went home one day and I said, do you mind leaving? I said, what do you mean? I said, would you mind going? He said, well, we're married. I said, no, but I've tried it and I don't like it. He said, well, you haven't really tried it enough, have you? You should give it a bit more. I said, no, I've made my mind up. I don't want to be married anymore, and that was it. So he left, and instantly he divorced me on unreasonable behaviour. Yeah, he said, she was go out on a Friday and come home on a Sunday. Admittedly I did, but I think he was jealous because I didn't take him with me. So anyway, that was the end of that one, and then I got married again when I was 27. This one obviously lasted a little bit longer than that, but not that much longer. It must have that effect on people. But he said to me, this gentleman I married this time, this Tony, he was actually the ex-husband of my best friend's daughter, if that makes sense. Oh, so I should have really thought a bit more about it, because I lost my best friend. It made things a bit difficult. So he said, well, why don't we move away, get married and start afresh? So he took me to Clacton. Well, have any of you been to Clacton in the winter? No, not good. So I went to Clacton. In the summer it was very good, really enjoyed myself, but when the winter came, and because he used to be a car dealer, he used to travel back from Clacton every day to sell cars, but he'd leave me down there on my own. And I didn't have any friends. I used to find some people in the street and go and play bingo during the day and do a bit of shopping, but there's only so much bingo and shopping you can do. And then all of a sudden he'd start not coming back. He'd ring up and say, oh, I've been drinking with my friends from work and I've had too much to drink, so I better stay here with my mum and dad tonight. And it got more and more ongoing, so it was more than 2 or 3 times a week this started happening. So obviously my mind was running away with me. I was imagining that he was up to all sorts, which he probably was. And I ended up drinking down there, and then I took an overdose and I got put into a psychiatric unit. Well, he had agreed that he was going to sort things out. He said, don't worry about it, no problem, I won't do it, I won't stay out anymore. I was put on medication to help me out. He did it again, I took another overdose, and this time he left me. He said, oh, I can't be dealing with this. So my mum had to come down and pick up the pieces, bring me back from Clacton, and I ended up in the psychiatric unit in Whalley for about 8 weeks. But luckily for me, they managed to put me on medication, and I sorted myself out in about 18 months. So now I'm up to the age of 30, I've got no children, I've still got my flat, I've given up my job obviously in the Ford dealership, but I'm in no sort of relationship and going nowhere fast. Really don't know what I'm going to do, but so I started going out again. You know, I've met some friends who are out on the circuit, all good time girls really, so I was just tagging along. Nice holidays and like men with nice flash clothes and big cars and all that. and obviously I didn't have to go to work because they was keeping me, so it sort of suited. And then back in 2002, well, actually it was 2001, I met a gentleman who I was actually seeing, and he asked me to get involved with something he was doing. To cut a long story short, I found myself in a rather serious position. In February 2002, I was arrested in a petrol garage in Mackness in Brentwood, along with 6 others, and was arrested by the National Crime Squad for conspiracy to supply cannabis into the country. Now, my only role in this was to actually, the person I was actually seeing had asked me if I could arrange to get 2 people to unload a lorry in a lay-by. Now, I actually did know that there was something on the lorry that shouldn't be there, but I wasn't really that sure of what it was that was on board. So I went along with it anyway, because they say love is blind. I was actually in a vehicle with somebody else while all this was happening. I wasn't actually at the scene, but as far as I was concerned, I was involved in the conspiracy, and that was it. So I found myself taken to Harlow police station along with 6 men. I didn't even know 4 of them. I've never even set eyes on them before in my life, you know. So but as far as their police are concerned, you are in it and you're going to get charged with it, and you'll just have to go to court and get yourself out of it. So that's what I thought I'd do. So I was kept in Harlow police station for 3 days, and then I was transferred to High Point prison up in Suffolk, where I was put on remand for a whole year. Now all the things, and obviously my mum was devastated by this because there was quite a lot of cannabis on this lorry. There was like 1 tonne. I mean, I couldn't even say that it was for personal, you know. I don't even smoke it, I'd like to add. I never have none. But see, that's the situation. It was quite a lot involved in it. It was very serious, and I was told if you do get found guilty, you'll be going to prison for a long time. But I thought, well, to be fair, I haven't really done anything that major. When we actually get to court, hopefully the men will all stand up and say their bit, you know, like men used to years ago. And let the women, like, really, what's the point of letting a woman take the blame for it? But when we actually got to court, the 6 men had been in Chelmsford prison all together, and they've got their stories all concocted. So when we got in front of the jury and the judge, they all blamed me. They said that I was the ringleader, that I was the one that told them all what to do. But thankfully for me, the judge didn't believe the whole story, you know, because I'd actually said that I did know that it was on there, but there was a lot more on than anticipated, which made it quite good for me in the judge's eyes. But I'd still kept hoping. The only thing that kept me going for this whole year was that when I actually get to court, the jury will hopefully believe me, because all these men was all 6 foot, and I was only 5'3", and I'd lost a lot of weight while I was waiting to go to court, and I looked quite ill, and my whole world really had come crashing down. And my trial started in October. I had a 3-month trial. The jury went out 2 days before Christmas and came back. I managed to get the 2 gentlemen underneath me that I'd employed a not guilty verdict, because really and truthfully they wasn't really guilty of anything, you know. If it wasn't for me enticing them in to do it, they wouldn't have been there in the first place. So they got acquitted, but the rest of us got found guilty. The judge decided that day he was going to sentence us all there and then. He wasn't going to put us off for pre-sentence reports, because I had been quite a little bit of a demon through the years. It was all coming back now to bite me on the backside. As far as they was concerned, we'd wasted the taxpayers' money. We'd had a whole 3-month trial, which cost them so many thousands, if not millions of pounds. So he said, sit down, I'm going to sentence you now. Well, because the judge had said all the way through that he thought that my main role wasn't that serious, you know, that I was just probably one of these foot soldiers. So he started sentencing the other 2. He gave the first one 12 years. He gave the next 2, lorry driver and his mate, 9 years, and it came to me. I thought, oh, I'll get 5. But unfortunately, I got 10. Yeah, because obviously us women, you know, we should know better. They say behind every behind every strong man is a strong woman. So obviously they did say there's no smoke without fire. So there I am, 10-year prison sentence. Actually in shock in the court, can't believe. All the men are actually more upset than me, but I just thought there's no way I'm going to show you lot that I'm going to cry, you know, in front of you. So we were suddenly whisked off to different directions, because once you're sentenced to a big sentence like that, your class is like an LTI, long-term inmate, and no one really wants to take responsibility for you. So I was whisked back to High Point. I was read the Right Act and told, well, you will be a parolee, and there's not going to be any sort of set release date. You're going to have to work towards your parole, and we'll go from there. Obviously in court it was horrible. My mum was screaming and everyone was crying, and obviously all she could think about was that I'm not going to be here for 10 years, you know. There wasn't any sort of plan about, oh, maybe she'll get out earlier. But I can honestly say now it was probably one of the worst time of my life, you know, that I went through. Actually witnessing my mum so upset and all the family. I mean, really and truthfully, they were the victims in all this, you know, not me. So I went back to High Point Prison and I was really given a bit of sound advice from the main officer. He said, Tracey, while you're in prison, actually do something constructive with your time. He said, anything you can learn, anything that comes your way, take it with both hands and learn as much as you can. So that's what I did. So I managed to get myself a job, the best job in the gym, in prison, which is the gym orderly. Now, I'd never been really involved in the gym, and where I was having such a good time all these years, I'd managed to put on a bit of weight without realising it. So all of a sudden, I got myself enrolled in the gym, started losing quite a lot of weight, and before I knew it, I was quite fit, and it wasn't such a hardship to be in there. I was getting through each day. And one of the words that I used every single day of my life in prison was deal with it, because the situations you come across are things that you don't ever experience here on the outside. You're mixing with people that, really and truthfully, I never knew half of them even existed. You know, you don't see them around here. They're in their own little world somewhere. So for the next 2 years, I've done all my gym classes. I then enrolled on loads of different courses, enhanced thinking skills, money management and budgeting, family matters, anything I could do. I then decided that I was going to do some gym classes and gym courses, because I thought, what better person to teach step aerobics and gym instructor is someone that's, for the over 40s, it's someone that's over 40, and that's what I was going to be when I was going to be released, was in my early 40s. So for the next year or 18 months, I've done my MVQs, level 3 in gym instructor and step aerobics instructor. So I thought I'll be set up when I get out. I haven't got to rely on any men anymore. I don't have to get up to any sort of mischief. I'll be quite happy and I'm settled. So I've been away now about 4 years, and I then find out that there's an open prison, or such a thing as an open prison. Now the open prisons, there's only 2 for women in the country, but there's loads for men. Incidentally, there's 85,000 men in prison today, and there's only 6,500 women. But most of these women are behind bars for a man anyway, one way or the other. Whether it be for killing them or getting drugs in the country for them or something, more than likely there's a man somewhere looming behind them. So I then find out that these 2 open prisons, they only have 200 spaces between them. And then if there's like 6,000 plus women trying to apply for these spaces, you're up against it. You know, you've got to fit all the criteria, you've really got to do what you can do. So I applied, I did do my homework. I was told that there's an actual farm on this one in Kent. So when I filled the application form in, I said, no, I've got loads of experience with animals. I said, and also I'd like to go to the one in... So I'd also like to go to this prison because it's near to home, and one of the privileges of going to the open prison, when you've been there a certain time, you can actually come out for the day and go home to visit your family, your children or your parents or whatever, and then someone picks you up and takes you back the same day. So that was the main plan for me, and that was what I wanted to do. I needed to get out more and see my mum, because by now her health was suffering. So I got accepted to the open prison. I arrived there, but my nose was a bit out of joint really, because I'd been left to my own devices for a few years, you know, in my own single cell, or only ever sharing with one other person. So then when you get there, you have to suddenly start sharing again with 12 or 13 other people. All different nationalities, all different cultures. And to me, it was really a big shock, you know. After I'd been there a day, I just wanted to go back to where I'd come from. I knew that it was going to really probably put me back if I did go back, and that there was no guarantee that I would actually get out if I did. So I was in a catch-22 really. I was somewhere I didn't want to be, but if I went back to where I wasn't going anywhere fast. So I just plodded on, and then after day 3 I was there, still feeling very depressed, and actually when you actually go into a new prison, you're like the new girl, so you get put in the corner with the smallest space, and you don't know anyone, and you're susceptible to bullying and things like that, you know, you start starting from scratch again really, like at a new school. But then you have like what's called induction, and they show you around the prison and they ask you what sort of job you want to do while you're there. Because these days you can't just sit on your bed and read telly all day, you've got to actually work while you're in prison. The opportunities are working in the kitchens or in the gardens or cleaning on the house, but with me they had the application form in front of them, and they said, well, on the application form you've actually stated that you've got experience with animals. But for me, I didn't realise what sort of farm it was. I had the idea in my head was that it was like a patty farm, you know, with a couple of lambs and a few chickens and maybe the odd guinea pig and things like that. Because I thought, well, when these people's children, these ladies' children come to see them, they take them to the farm and all that. So I thought, well, I'll manage to blag that, I'll get round that one. So they said, well, would you like to come for a little tour of the farm? I said, by all means. So they took me over there, but as we walked towards the farm, I knew it wasn't a patty farm. I could smell it. And as we turned the corner, I just come face to face with all these pigs, and it was like, oh my God, what am I going to do now? And some of them were huge. There was big boars. I remember the first boar I met was called Rodney. I'll never forget Rodney as long as I live, you know. And he was like eyeing me up, and I thought, oh dear, there's no way I'm going in that pen with you, Rodney. So and then we went on to stages, and there was sows with their babies, and I still thought, I said, well, what actually have you got to do here? Do you have to go in with them? They said, oh yeah. They said, in the morning, you go first of all, you feed them, and then while they're eating, you go in and clean them out. And that takes all the morning, and then in the afternoon you have to do all other little jobs like moving them around, or if there's new piglets been born, you have to help while we're cutting their teeth and all sorts of things, and mend fences and all that. And I still thought, oh, I don't know, them pigs are a bit big for me. And obviously I was telling a few white lies that I actually had experience when I had none. And then I turned the corner. They took me into the dry sow shed, and I turned the corner and I came face to face with a saddleback sow. Now a saddleback is one of those pigs in the centre, you know, the black ones with a white bit on them, and they're a rare breed pig. They're more bred for outdoors, you know, they're more hardy pigs. They taste fantastic. They've got an extra layer of fat on them, on their back, so and their taste is so different to a commercial pig. And they're very docile, you know, and they've got a lovely temperament. That's what's attracted to me to me now. But at the time I didn't know that. So turn the corner and suddenly I come face to face with this sow. Our eyes locked, and I don't know if it was love at first sight, or whether that day she'd been taken off her babies, and she was pissed off, and I was pissed off, and we was in the same place, and we didn't want to be. It was just, there was a connection now. And I said, that's it, I want to look after her. I said, take me back on the house, give me my overalls, I'll start tomorrow. And I didn't worry about the rest, all I wanted to do was look after this one, you know, that I felt sorry for. So I went back on the house, got my overalls, and I started the next morning at 8 o'clock. I was there on the farm. But for some reason, within the first 2 weeks, I'd taken to this pig farm in Malarkey. So good. I loved it. I was over there an hour before everyone else. While the pigs were farrowing the sows, I used to be allowed to stay there longer and watch them and help them and set the heat lamps up, and got myself so involved. Within a month, I was spending all my free time there. I mean, in an open prison, you don't have to be back on the prison till 8 o'clock. You can wander outside. I mean, you can't go anywhere because there's a perimeter, but don't have to be indoors. I mean, I was a bit of a laughing stock really with the rest of the prisoners. They thought, we're all in here being punished anyway, so why would she want to go and work on a pig farm? And to make matters worse, spend longer over there than you normally would. But to be fair, I got a lot more sense out of the pigs than I did of the rest of them. And I used to lay on my bed at night when they were all reading Cosmopolitan and Bella magazine. I was reading Pig Monthly and Farmers Weekly. You know, they really did think I'd lost the plot, but obviously I had bigger ideas. You know, I didn't really care because that was my saving grace. It was really good being over there with the pigs. Mrs. Coven, who ran the prison farm, she said, Tracey, why don't you do something constructive with your time while you're here? Why don't you do your level 1 or 2 in pig husbandry? Well, I didn't really know what that was, but they explained it to me. And I went right into it. I said, well, I've got nothing really else to do. I'm here for another 2.5, 3 years, at least. So that's what I did. So for the next 10 months, I did level 1 and 2 in pig husbandry, which involved cleaning the pigs out, giving them all their treatments, cutting the piglets' teeth, their iron injections, proper breeding programs, because I had the proper Essex boars with the Essex sows, and I knew what I was doing. And I loved it so much, you couldn't get me away from there. Once I'd finished level 2, I did level 3, and then I did level 4. I'd actually more qualified than some of the staff on the prison farm, but I didn't really care, and I used to have the outside assessors come in from Hadlow College to assess me, you know. So once I'd gone this far, I couldn't really go any further. I then started working on the prison butchery department, because what the prison used to do was breed the pigs, send them to the abattoir. They'd come back obviously dead, and they'd take all the meat off the carcasses and make them into sausages, and they'd sell them on either in the prison shop that was open 2 days a week to the public, or on farmers markets. Now in the meantime, Jimmy from Jimmy's farm had come to the prison, and his boar on the programme Blade had a heart attack and died. So he came to our prison and bought the new little boy called Porridge. Now I was actually on series 2 because I loaded porridge on the trailer, and Jimmy offered me a job. I said I'd love to, but I'm not ready yet. So he said, well, when you get out, give me a ring and I'll give you a job, definitely. So I thought, that's it. I've got all my qualifications for the gym. When I get out, I'll go and work for him. I'll get myself on the telly and I can do my gym work at night. So as far as I was concerned, I was sorted. All I had to do was get out. Easier said than done. So in the meantime, I was taken to, as a day out, as a special treat. They said, would you like to come to a farmer's market? So I said, what is a farmer's market? Now these farmer's markets had sprung up whilst I was in prison. I'd never heard of them. So they said, as a special treat, because you're such a good little prisoner and you love these pigs, you can come out for the day. We'll give you £2 for coming. You can actually talk to the public, and you get to eat sausages, which that's what I was after, because there was all different flavours. So they took me out, and there I was, allowed to talk to the public all day long. Couldn't believe it. I sold all the sausages because I'm quite a good seller. I've got the gift of the gab on the old market department. But I couldn't believe the demand for these sausages. They was all sold out within such a short time. I could actually smell that there was something here for me. So that day I went back to my cell and I laid on the bed and I thought, why am I going to go and work for Jimmy's farm? I'll do it for me. I can breed the pigs. I can make the... Well, I didn't know how to make the sausages. I can breed the pigs and I can sell. All I've got to do now is learn how to make the sausage. So I went back onto the butchery department and enrolled on a course that was being run by Hadlow College. And I got a company, a charity called Women in Prison to pay for it for me. And on that course I learned how to make sausage, cure bacon, do gammons and all that added value. I knew it all. I managed to get myself a job coming out of prison for the last year. When you come out of prison, when you're due out of prison, for the last year before you're released, or the last 18 months, they let you out to do community work in the nearby town. I used to work for Dr. Bernardo's 2 days a week for the first 6 months, and then they allow you to go and get a job. But you have to go back to prison every night. But you have the job that you get has to be something that you've learnt in prison. So with me, it was either in the gym, either on the farm, or in the butchery department. To cut a long story short, because I don't really want to run out of time, I managed to get myself a little job working in a local farm near the prison. But that didn't work out because they was exploiting me really. I used to start early and I'd be there till late because their idea was, well, she must surely like to be out here rather than in there. So I was working with something like £1.50 an hour, you know, and it wasn't going to happen. So I went back into the prison, and on one of my days out home to visit my mum, I went to get some milk at the local shops in Petersfield Avenue. And in the window was a notice saying, apprentice required, 16, 17-year-old to make sausage. So I went in and introduced myself to this gentleman called Bill, who runs the shop, or did run the shop then. I said, how about me doing the apprenticeship job? He said, well, you're not exactly 16, love, are you? So I said, well, no, but I can teach you to make sausage, because he'd already told me that he couldn't do it. So he agreed to let me come. I did say, well, there's one problem. I'm in prison. And he thought I was on something serious, you know. He said, oh, really? So I explained the situation. And he said, if the prison let you come out to work for me, then I'll go along with it. And they came out and did their inspection. And they agreed. So my mum bought me a little car. And I was allowed out of East Sutton Park Prison every morning at 5 o'clock. I should drive myself to Harold Hill, work in the shop all day, and then drive myself back at night. We used to have to save our wages. We wasn't allowed to spend it. You obviously paid for your petrol and the toll and whatever, but the rest of it had to be saved for your release. I did that for a whole year. I'd also spoken to the prison governor and said, look, when I get out, are you going to let me buy some of these pigs that we've bred on the farm? He said, yeah, by all means. So I had already spent quite a lot of time earmarking the ones I want. I'd bred my own for the last 18 months. So I got all the proper pure Essex pigs and I knew what I wanted. So when I came out and I actually got my parole, I came out on the Tuesday and they came out on the following Tuesday. But in the meantime, I've managed to persuade one of my friend's husbands to let me put some of my pigs on his farm up at Brook Street roundabout. And my friend, obviously, we was friends for 25 years. So he agreed to do that. So he went off to play golf in Portugal for 3 days. And whilst he was gone, I put up the electric fences, all the pig arks, and the pigs was in situ. But when he came back, he just couldn't believe it. I think he probably thought, oh, it was a little whim, you know, let her get away with it and she'll soon forget it. But I didn't. So now I've got my 35 pigs, my pig arks and my electric fence, but all my money was wiped out. the butcher in the shop, Bill, had now managed to rent me a part of his shop to get me going. And a friend of mine lent me the rest of the money to buy my first little van. Anything I needed to get started in my shop, really, like my sausage machine, my mincer, all the stuff for a gazebo, you know, to actually go to a market. I find it very difficult at first to get situated in anywhere to sell these sausages, because everywhere the door was shut, you know. Everyone was saying to me, well, no, actually we've got our own pig farmers who have been going for, since the farmers markets have been going, now the last 10 years. So really it was just like perseverance, really. I was giving everyone loads of grief, and I managed to get a few doors open, which I did. I started supplying the farmers markets, and that was back in 2005 when I actually got out. I've only been out, 2007 I got out, so I've been out 5 years exactly this month. Things took off for me quite well. I managed to win Barclays Trading Places Award, which was run by Barclays and the Sun newspaper for people that have turned their life around for a bad situation. I got quite a £5,000 in winnings for that, and free publicity in a Thompson local. I was then catapulted in the limelight. I was put on every radio station there was, You and Yours, Farming Today. I was on every national newspaper. Even some of the headlines was Pig Woman from Alcatraz. Well, that didn't really bother me, because I needed any publicity really to get me going. I mean, in the 5 years now, I do a hell of a lot. I've got 700 pigs. I've got my own piggery now in Hubbard's Chase that I built myself, that I actually took the builders into the prison to copy. I do 75 flavours of sausage. I've got 12 or 13 vans, I'm not sure, on the road. I now own the butcher shop, and Bill still works for me. I do hog roasts. I'm a busy little girl, really. I've done quite a lot of television programmes. I've done Country Fold twice, the Alan Titchmarsh show, the One Show, Inside Out programme, Market Kitchen, and Drop Down Menu, which I did a few weeks ago. I'm here, there and everywhere. I do all the garden shows, RHS Wisley, I go to Blenheim Palace, and I've even got my own book coming out next year, which I've just sold to a big publishing house in London. So to say really and truthfully, the best thing that ever happened to me was to go to prison for that length of time. I'll cut the story down quite, because I know that some of you are eager to go off, but that is really...
No, we're not. No, you carry on.
Summary of how I really started, you know. Now I'm here, there and everywhere. I do lots of things. I try and get involved with a lot of charities. I do quite a lot of work with Rotary clubs, as it is. I go all over the country, like to county shows, agricultural shows, selling sausages. You know, I'm out there now. I'm quite established. I do a hell of a lot of these talks. I mean, this week alone I've done probably 4. So, I say, I've done a lot in a short space of time, you know, and I've made myself out there. But it just shows that when you're up against it, and I can't say that I was in trouble once. I've been in trouble quite a bit in my years. You know, I've done a lot of things that I'm not proud of, but it just proves that you can get there if you want to, you know, even when it's stacked against you. When I actually went and did a talk for Holloway Prison last year for International Women's Day, and I was there, and I was the second main speaker, and it was Sheila Hancock was the main speaker, because she's a member of the suffragettes. And she's one of the people that actually put me in touch with one of these publishing houses and all that, you know. So it just shows you, people you meet, how it can influence where you go from there. Has anyone got any questions?
I have a question. You talked about cutting the pig's teeth. What do you mean?
When piglets are born, they're born with really sharp razor teeth. And if you don't cut them within 3 days, when they're actually sucking milk, I've seen them actually rip the nipple straight off, and it infects the nipple. So really, it's better if you do take them out. If the sows are indoors and you can move the sow while you do the piglets, it's better for you, you know. Because as soon as you pick a piglet up, it screams. I don't know if anyone's ever done that. And it just alerts the sow, and she thinks you're hurting them. You're not really, you know. But so and obviously you give them, if they're born indoors, you give them iron injections, because piglets are born with very little, if any, iron at all. Bit different to if they're outdoors.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to ask you've obviously developed your business tremendously. How many people are you employed?
I've got probably 6 or 7 full-time, and I've got probably about 12 or 13 part-time that do mainly weekends. And there's different, because I've got my farm obviously, and I've got 700 pigs, so I need people there. I've got all the vans that go out, so I need people to keep them on top. I've got the shop, and I've got the farmers markets, and I've got probably, I On a normal Saturday, I'll do 6 or 7 markets in one day. And the same on Sunday. And I do a couple today. I'm in Bloomsbury and I'm in Queen Mary today. We do some as well. We do hog roast and things, you know.
What do you do in your spare time?
No, I haven't really had a lot of spare time.
Ron.
Thank you. I'm flabbergasted after this.
You're not the only one.
It's a fantastic story, and thank you very much. But one silly question maybe, but I like sausages, but I don't like the skins on them these days.
My skins are natural.
Ah, I was just going to ask, what sort of skin is it?
Natural skins.
Yeah.
And I do some really weird and wonderful flavours. We do some crazy ones, really hot ones, you know, wow wow, which are Thai bell chilies and hot chilli sauce. We do cracked black pepper, we do chunky bacon. We're not your normal Cumberland, although we do Cumberland. We want to go with the times, you know. And when you cook my sausages, there's no fat or rubbish in them. They're all fresh, they're all handmade, and you can freeze them all for 6 months. My bacon's all dry cured, I've just won a championship with it. And I've also got faggots that I've just won a gold award with.
Sometimes sausages have bread filling.
No, mine have got 5% rusk. They're 85% lean pork, 5% rusk, a tiny little bit of water, and whatever ingredients we're putting in now. If you actually cook them, so I've actually got some samples today, if you've got time to try them, and we've actually got sausages to buy, if you're interested. But if you actually cook them on a grill or on a George Foreman, you will see that nothing will come out of them.
Katie.
Obviously, with your experiences, do you help people that have been in trouble now, or is it just you just employ people as they come along, or is it something that maybe you think about?
I've actually been asked on a couple of occasions. I mean, one TV production company wanted me to have like pig camp, which was to take on some delinquent boys, you know, like, because they said really if anyone could handle them, it'd probably be me, but they wanted the cameras, but it'd probably be F swearing all the way through it, you know, which I did say. Not really happy about delinquent boys, but then they said, how about some little princesses, the girls? So there's still, I mean, I'm still in talks of doing it. I am open for helping other people, and if there's any way, I do believe by going into schools and getting the message out there, you know. Although the course I did in prison, Enhanced Thinking Skills, was an intense 6-week course, and it teaches you how to think differently and how to look at the consequences and the bigger picture. And if you can actually learn that in school, I do believe that I wouldn't have made the mistakes I made to get me where I was in the first place. But you've got to grab them at an early age before they've already got these ways that they think already, you know. So I think they are doing it in prison, but they're doing it too late. Because it's made me realise, and I still use every one of them tools that I learn every single day before I make a decision, you know. So obviously it works for me, it'll work for them.
Well, not interfering, but what prison did you go to? Was you at Paris St Edmunds?
High Point, yeah.
You looked after me.
Did I? Well,
I couldn't believe it when I saw you.
was I an insider or something like that?
Listener.
Yeah, listener. I used to be an insider, a listener.
When I first went there, I was so scared.
And was I one of the people you met?
Lunch bag,
Yeah.
And you got me onto the enhanced wing.
Yeah, see? Just show Yeah, see, just shows you. I was actually trained by the Samaritans in prison.
And it was the first day, and you got me from the horrible wing.
Yeah.
Where there was all drugs
See,
and all that.
we're a lot of prison officers haven't got the time to spend with new receptionists to actually tell them and explain. They just want to do the details and get rid of you. They had the likes of me, really. You're like an officer without the keys, sort of thing. So, but you're doing their job. You're explaining to people what to expect and what's going to happen. And you stop the bullying, because we was taken onto all the wings and we could see what's going on. So the prison do what they can to help, you know.
Another speaker, right? Last question.
That was quite an amazing afternoon. I don't think we had one like this for 3 or 4 years. I don't know. I have one good question. You are obviously the most exceptional of the situation that you were in. But is there a tendency within the prisons in this country, not necessarily where you've come from, but generally speaking, where the inmates do take on to improving their chances of surviving outside, other than what they were doing before?
I think now in prison there are so many opportunities to do whatever you want. You can turn your life around if you want, but you've got to want to do it. I mean, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. And my arguments was, people used to think I was mad. In total, I did 52 courses in prison. I mean, I've done, and I left school without any qualifications. Every opportunity is there, but you've got to want to do it. I mean, if I had the time, I would go back into prisons. I'd go back into East Sutton Park regularly, because I am their little golden girl, you know. I was in the Telegraph magazine, I had 4 whole pages of me and what I've done, and they just, every time new recruits go in, they go, look at what we did, you know. So if she can do it, you could do it, and it is an encouragement, and it is for people. I mean, I was 37 years of age when I went in. I mean, really and truthfully, I thought it was all stacked against me, but it just shows that you're never too old and to start learning new tricks, really. And I've proved it, you know, and I'm learning every day now.
That's very iconic, isn't it? That's what's needed. Thank you.
It is,
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I wish I was given the vote of thanks.
Yes,
On a form to David Fell.
There we are.
What a job for it, that, Tracey. I mean, if you weren't a pig farmer, you'd be on the stage. That's for absolute. I can tell you that everybody in this room thoroughly enjoyed it. I mean, it was absolutely
I didn't see
brilliant.
anyone go to sleep.
I think on a slightly serious note, the most important thing for me, and I'm sure for some of the fellows here, is that you were able to be aware that you could do this thing in prison, and you're very grateful for it, aren't you, that you got this opportunity. I've never heard that before. I've always heard, oh well, it doesn't work, or people don't get reformed when they come out of prison. It's brilliant to hear that, because it sort of renews the faith in the system.
There is so much in prison today. They are there to, the reform is there. They want you to turn your life around. They don't want people keep going in and out and in and out. You know, there's so many, you can change, you can do anything really you want. If you've got the time in there, you can do whatever you want. They let you go to outside colleges, they let you do degrees if you want to. You know,
I mean, what struck me, Tracey, is your absolute drive. You know, whatever you took on, you'll drive your way to it, and I think you'll help other people. And can I just, on behalf of everybody, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Catching up to Well, I shook my belly.
Follow that, George. Follow that.
What have we got here then, Ray?
We've got a garlic chicken. Garlic chicken.
Can you come and explain a little bit for us?
Bramley apple sausage.
Where's that? Sorry.
Bramley.
Got 11 flavours here.
What was that wow I just tasted?
Thai bell chilies in the very, very hot. That one there. That's the one that makes your hair stand on end.
Is it? what air?
That's
right.
That's why it's still in the packet.
Very good sausage. But the wow, all 85% lean pork, all from our own farm just round the corner.
And that's your own recipe, that wow, is it?
Bit of both, yeah, a bit of Thai bell chilies, a little bit of chilli powder.
What's this one? That's
The best sausage we make, and we've brought another one out, and we've sold out of it, which is chilli and garlic. Which that one there? A big passion of mine. That one, sir, is chestnut. Never taste it because I can't eat nut. I've been told.
Very good, excellent. Very good indeed.
But we do 65 flavours of sausages. And like I say, they're all 85% lean, all from rare breed saddlebags.
Thank you very much.
So thank you.